Hi to all the math students out there from Mrs. Marcellus and my faithful friend, Froganachi. Today we're going to learn to find distances on the coordinate plane. Today's learning objective is students will find the distance between 2 points with the same first or second coordinate by using a coordinate plane and applying knowledge of absolute value. We don't have any new vocabulary, but there are some other notes that summarize how we will find the distances. When 2 points are in the same quadrant, such as points C and D in quadrant 3 of the coordinate plane below, we are going to subtract the absolute values of the unlike coordinates. When 2 points are in different quadrants, such as A and B in quadrants 2 and 1 in the coordinate plane, we are going to add the absolute values of the unlike coordinates. What's that, Froganachi? You're feeling a little confused already? Well, I suggest that we just leap right in and try a few problems, and we'll see how this works. In our first example, we want to find the distance from Lee's house to the school. We can see from the legend on our coordinate plane that each unit is 1 mile. Since they're both plotted on the coordinate plane, we could simply just count the number of units from Lee's house to the school, and that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we know that the distance is 5 miles. We also can calculate the distance using the coordinates of the 2 locations. Lee's house is located at -4, -3. The school is located at -4, +2. Since these 2 locations are in 2 different quadrants, we are going to add the absolute values of the unlike coordinates. When we look at the ordered pairs, we see that the x-coordinate of -4 is the same for both Lee's house and the school. Therefore, we will add the absolute values of the unlike coordinates, which are the y-coordinates. I'm going to find the absolute value of -3, and I'm going to add that to the absolute value of 2. The absolute value of -3 is 3, and this represents the distance from Lee's house up to the x-axis. Then the absolute value of 2 is 2, and that represents the distance from the x-axis to the school. 3 plus 2 equals 5, so using the absolute value, we can calculate that it is 5 miles from Lee's house to the school. Let's find the distance between 1, -5 and 4, -5. We could use the coordinate plane as a tool to help us. First, we would plot each of the points. We have 1, -5 and 4, -5. Then we could simply count up the distance between them and find that the distance is 3 units. We could also use absolute value to find the distance. First, we need to determine whether or not these points are in the same quadrant. From what we graphed, we can tell that they are both in quadrant 4. If the x values both have the same sign and the y values both have the same sign, that's how you know that both points are in the same quadrant. To find the distance using absolute value, we would have to then subtract the absolute values of the unlike coordinates. I like to start with the larger value first. So first we would have the absolute value of 4 minus the absolute value of 1. 4 minus 1 equals 3. The distance between these points is 3 units. For these ordered pairs, let's find the distance without using the coordinate plane. We need to analyze the 2 ordered pairs to determine if they are in the same quadrant. We can tell that they are not in the same quadrant because the x value for the first ordered pair is negative and the x value for the second ordered pair is positive. If they don't match, then they are not in the same quadrant. That means we will add the absolute value of the unlike coordinates, -7 and 2. We would take the absolute value of -7 plus the absolute value of 2. This is 7 plus 2, which equals 9. -7, 1 and 2, 1 are 9 units apart. Next, we have two ordered pairs that are expressed in decimals. This does not change anything about how we find the distance between them. First, we need to determine if they are in the same quadrant. Both of the x values are the same and positive, but we know that these are in different quadrants because one of the y values is negative and the other is positive. That means we are going to add the absolute value of the two unlike coordinates. We will have the absolute value of -3.3 plus the absolute value of 5.5. That means we have 3.3 plus 5.5, which will equal 8.8. These 2 points are 8 and 8/10 units apart. We can also find the distance between ordered pairs containing fractions. First, we will see if they are in the same quadrant. Both of the x values are positive and both of the y values are positive. This means these 2 points are in the same quadrant. We will need to find the difference between the unlike coordinates or the y coordinates. I like to start with the larger value, which is 6 3/4, and subtract the smaller value, which is 3 1/4. The absolute value of 6 3/4 is 6 3/4, and we will subtract the absolute value of 3 1/4, which is 3 1/4. Since we have a common denominator, this is easy to subtract. 3/4 minus 1/4 equals 2/4. And 6 minus 3 equals 3. The distance between these 2 points is 3 2/4, which simplifies to 3 1/2 units. Frogzilla is at the doctor's office. From there, he plans to hop over to the library and then to the pool. What is the total distance Frogzilla will travel if each unit represents 1 kilometer? First, we can start by finding the distance from the doctor's office to the library. The doctor's office is located at 3 -5, and the library is located at 12 -5. We know from the drawing that they are in the same quadrant, and we could also tell that by looking at the points and seeing that the x values are both positive and the y values are both negative. Since they are in the same quadrant, we are going to have to find the distance between the unlike coordinates, or the x-coordinates. We'll take the absolute value of 12 minus the absolute value of 3. 12 minus 3 equals 9 kilometers. Next, Frogzilla is going to go from the library, which is at 12 -5, to the pool, which is at 12 8. We can see from the map that the library and the swimming pool are in 2 different quadrants, and we can also tell this because one of the y values is negative and the other one is positive. To find the distance between these points, we are going to have to add the absolute values of the unlike coordinates. That means we will add the absolute values of -5 and +8, or 5 plus 8 equals 13 kilometers. To find the total distance Frogzilla traveled, we would add the 9 kilometers from the doctor's office to the library, plus the 13 kilometers from the library to the pool, and find out that he traveled 22 kilometers. Hey Froganachi, I think a dip in the pool sounds pretty refreshing. What do you say we head on over there and join Frogzilla? Well, it looks like we're going swimming, math students, so we're going to say bye for now.